the audit supervisor on the engagement. So I'll be discussing the results of the audit for September 30th, 2021, and I will also touch on a few financial highlights as part of that. So, before I get into the results, let's talk a little bit about what we actually did in the audit. So first of all, we did a financial audit, first and foremost, and that's collecting and reviewing and testing sufficient data to be able to have enough evidence to issue an opinion on the financial statements, on the amounts and the note disclosures that are included in that big book you have in front of you. And as part of that process, we also review your internal controls and compliance affecting any financial reporting. So if there are any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we identify as part of that process, government auditing standards require us to issue a report and identify those to you. And then finally, we did an examination on compliance with the Florida statute on investment of public funds. So the results of those various audits and examinations are listed here. Again, like Dallas said, we issued an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion, meaning your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. That's good. We had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that we identified, and no material instances of noncompliance or other matters that were required to be disclosed. And then finally, we concluded that the city complied in all material respects with the investment statute. So those first three items, again, are the reports that are included in the bound financial statements. As clean as you can get them, no findings, no issues there. So congratulations on that. The last few pages of the bound report are a management letter that includes certain information that the Auditor General requires us to disclose, and then management's response to the one finding recommendation for improvement that we did have. So in that management letter, you'll note that there were no, one of the things that we're required to do is follow up on any prior year findings, make sure that management is taking corrective actions to anything that we identify. There were no prior year findings to follow up on, so good on that. And then there were no findings of a financial emergency or a deteriorating financial condition. Of course, management is required to monitor your financial condition as the year goes on, but at the end of the year, we do a financial condition assessment. And that's to identify any red flags. If you might have a financial deteriorating condition, we would report those to you. No issues. You guys are doing a wonderful job managing the city. There's no flags at all in that financial condition.
Now, the commission's salary is not a deteriorating condition with the inflation that's going on? I thought for sure we were going to see that. All right, fine. She says no.
And then from time to time, as we do our audit, we do have certain recommendations for improvement of financial management. So that is the recommendation that we have, that it's included in the management letter. So it didn't rise to the level of a significant deficiency or material weakness to be reported up above, but it is a recommendation that relates to the financial close and reporting process. When we came in and did our audit, we identified 2 material audit adjustments, and we as auditors are prohibited from being part of that control process. So if we come in and we find material audit adjustments, that means that there was something that broke down in your control process that didn't identify those errors ahead of time. So our recommendation is that management go back and review those processes and see what can be done differently to make sure that doesn't happen again, that those items are caught before we do the audit. You also have a separate letter there, a stapled letter, so not in the bound report, called the communication with those charged with governance. And so that is a letter to you that discloses any significant audit findings or audit matters, if you will, that are in the financial statements. So if there were any changes in accounting policies, any significant changes would be disclosed to you. There were no changes this year in accounting policies. There are significant estimates that are here every year, so they're listed here. And those estimates include management judgments that could affect the amount that's reported, the amounts that are reported on your financial statements. So we review those judgments, we review the estimates to make sure that they're reasonable and that they're consistent from year to year. So basically there we're reviewing for any bias, and we did not identify any. Your financial statement disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear. As we discussed, we noted 2 material audit adjustments, so we do report those in the letter, and we disclose what they were. We also had 2, we call past adjustments that were not corrected. They're not considered to be material, but they're above a certain dollar threshold that we're required to report them to you here. So one was affecting cash, potentially affecting cash for about $16,000, and the other one capital assets for $8,000. These are likely timing issues in your financial statements, but it requires some time on the part of management to dig in and figure out exactly what's causing that.
Can we get some more information? Dallas, do you know the reason? And then we'll have the auditor confirm the reason if it's a timing issue later on.
Mr. Mayor, for the capital assets issue, we were able to dig in and find the issue. It was, as Barbara mentioned, it was a timing issue. A journal entry was posted to the trial balance that was not captured on our capital assets report once we had provided it to the auditors. So we believe it'll correct itself in the current year. The cash issue has been an ongoing issue. It was an issue before I became finance director. We have been working to work on it. I want to be clear, it's not that there's cash missing or cash unaccounted for. It's just something in our trial balance doesn't jive right. Like I said, I've been working on it for over a decade now. This year, we've actually hired an outside consultant to help us try and work on it and try and find what is causing that adjustment.
Do we need an AMI system over in accounting so we get?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't be very many problems. We won every award for the last 3 years, number one. So we can't have them.
Yeah, again, this isn't what we consider to be a material dollar amount, and it varies from year to year. So this year, it just hit a threshold that it was required to be reported to you. In the past, it's been a lot smaller. And then we encounter no significant difficulties in dealing with management or in performing the audit. So, going, as I tell you guys every year, preparing for an audit and answering all our questions is very time consuming. So definitely appreciate your team and being prepared for the audit. So that is the extent of the audit results. And now I'm going to dig into some financial highlights unless y'all have any questions for me on the audit.
Any questions?
Okay, good.
All right. General fund.
So when I talk about the comparison between 2020 and 2021, keep in mind that 2020 numbers are a little bit depressed, right? You're because of COVID, so those numbers aren't quite representative of what your normal operating activities are. But if you look at 2021 revenues of $7.5 million versus 2020 of $6.9 million, you had an increase in revenues of about $590,000. There's several things that went into that. You had assessed property values that drove a tax increase. You had some increases in the state revenue sharing and the half-cent sales tax. Parks and Rec Department picked activity back up in 2021. And then your solid waste charges for services had a pass-through revenue and cost associated with it that increased this year. And then on your expenditures, those went up $664,000. About a little less than half of that is made up of personnel costs, including about $60,000 of fire department overtime. So that was pretty significant this year. And then some, not just salary, but also benefit increases are included in that too. And then a number of other expenses drove up the other half. Just, again, the solid waste, the Parks and Rec, law enforcement contracts, or a number of things that went into that. So at the end of the day, you've got a net change in fund balance in 2021 of $553,000. So those are increases in your what we consider to be your carry forward. But if you flip to the next page, you can see what actually makes up that fund balance. So the $553,000 increase is what brought your $3 million fund balance in 2020 to $3.6 million in 2021. Portion of that, $400,000, is non-spendable. Those are long-term receivables that you're not going to receive next year, so they're not available for your budget the following year. Part of that is restricted. The $112,000 is restricted for your building department. Part of it is assigned. The $408,000 was already budgeted in your fiscal year '22, so it's considered assigned as of 9/30/21. And then you have unassigned of $2.6 million. At the bottom section there, a bottom box, and it compares that to your fund balance policy. So your assigned and unassigned fund balance total the $3 million, less your 17% target of reserves, about $1.3 million, your maximum rate stabilization fund or stabilization fund of $450,000 leaves you with available carry forward funds as of 9/30/21 of about $1.3 million. $400,000 of that has already been spent has already been budgeted, so that leaves you with an $895,000. Keep in mind, fund balance is not a recurring revenue, so obviously don't recommend increasing or recurring expenses. And that amount is also as of 8 months ago at this point, right? It's almost the end of May. So a lot could have happened between end of September and end of May that would affect that amount as well. Looking at the enterprise funds, you can see your total revenues are up $220,000, and that's driven by your electric fund. So a couple of things going on in your electric fund. You did have increased customers and increased consumption, which also drove up your power costs, which you can see the purchase power is up almost $160,000 in the expense side. And then you also had a base rate increase in '21. On your expense side, your materials, I'll skip over personnel services for now. Material supplies, billing and administration, all those went up. This is what we've seen across the state, and with all our clients, costs are going up. Your personnel services actually went down $250,000 or 25%, which really doesn't make sense, right? You haven't cut people, you've given pay increases, so I'm going to have to get a little bit into the weeds as to why that is, why it's showing a $250,000 decrease. And it really has to do with the Florida retirement system. Your enterprise funds are full accrual basis. Your general fund is pretty much a cash basis, so that's why we didn't see this on the general fund side. On the full accrual basis, when FRS expects to make a 7% rate of return. If they don't meet that rate of return, there's additional costs that get passed down to their members, and so you'll see additional cost added to your retirement expense. Well, on the flip side, when it goes, which is what happened in '21, way over the expected rate of return, so FRS had an excellent year, there's a benefit that's passed down to its members, and so it reduces the retirement cost. So that's what's happening here, is that because of FRS having a great investment year, and that's a very simplified version of it, but because of FRS having a great investment year, it decreased what your retirement costs are, and it's making it look like you have a reduction in your personnel costs. So at the end of the day, your change in net position for 2021 was fairly flat to
Can we hang
to
on 1 second
2020.
there? Commissioner Coleman.
How you doing?
Good.
That's good. Hey, depreciation. Because of the COVID fog, can't remember, because depreciation when we were at a bank was income. What is it here? Now, I can't remember.
Yeah, depreciation is the accrual basis expense of your assets wearing down, basically. So
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's right.
Okay.
All right, you're good. You can.
So your change in net position of 1.4 million, again, if we look at how that's broken down, you can see your net position went from 21.2 to 22.6, and you can see the $1.4 million increase there in the change column. But one interesting thing here is that your unrestricted net position actually went down $1 million versus your net investment in capital assets went up $2.4 million. And that's what makes up the 1.4. And so what that's telling you is that you're investing some of your unrestricted funds or reserves into capital assets, and actually there's the $500,000 pay down of debt is taken into account there too. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any more questions.
Any more questions? Commissioner Martin.
Barbara, I'm not sure if the operating income and the net position are related in the way that I'm asking the question, but when you said that the FRS did well, you got the benefit of it. Had that not happened, would we be $250,000 worse off?
Yes, yes. Maybe not that exact dollar amount, but yes.
So yeah, we would have had that additional, would that change this net position?
Your unrestricted net position would be even lower had that not happened.
Which is the 1.4?
That would be lower. That's your change in net position. That's how much it increased for the year. And then currently your unrestricted net position is $6 million in 2021. That amount would be even lower because you wouldn't have gone up by a full 1.4 million. You'd have gone up by less, and it all went into unrestricted. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Much easier to comprehend. Well, easier to flow. Any other questions from? We appreciate you.
All right, thank
Thank you
you.
so much. We look forward to finding that $8,000 soon. All right. Public announcements. Commission likes to hear from you early in the night. Don't want to keep you here. So if you got something you want to talk to the commission about, now's the time to do it. Come on down. Doesn't have to be on the agenda. You got 2 minutes. If it's a little bit more controversial, you get a little bit longer period at the end of the night. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. I'm Tracy Davis, and I'm a new business owner here in town. I own 3D's Barbecue and Catering in the former Cason's Barbecue spot. I've had a problem recently where the signs that I put out during the day when I'm open for business are being taken up. And so I called code enforcement, and he told me it was a code violation. And I believe when we were having our conversation, I was driving, and I saw other signs out, and they had remained out, throughout that week. So basically, I just want to know, what is exactly the code ordinance for signs, putting out signage, to help me advertise for my business, and then if I can get a copy of that to see exactly what it is, and if it's something that I couldn't do, I was trying to see if there was any kind of, because I pick them up every night after my shift ends. So I was just wondering if there was some kind of leniency that I can maybe have them out for 3 months or through the summer or what have you, to try and let people know exactly where I'm at with this new business.
I think what we should do is if you would see Brian or Janine in the back, give him your contact information.
Okay.
He'll make sure you get a copy of the ordinance, and then y'all can set up a meeting and y'all can discuss
Okay.
the ins and outs and all that kind of stuff. And if you guys, if you have further questions then I would say let's get it on the agenda.
Okay.
And that way we can have a longer conversations, because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole tonight when we don't have it on the agenda. People didn't know to come and talk about that kind of stuff. So let's start with that kind of conversation, and then we'll see where it goes from there. All right? Thank you for coming and bringing that to our attention. I can guarantee if there's signs out that aren't supposed to be there, those folks are they're skating. So, all right. Any other public announcements? Seeing
You
none?
can give it to him, Tracy, and then you don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. This might not take too long, though, so if you want to stay and chat, because I love that 3D
Yeah,
barbecue.
yeah.
All right, public hearing and ordinances. We may have one change, but we're going to explain that to us. Brian, come on now, we're good. This is Resolution 2022-27. Scott, you want to go ahead and read that into the record for us?
Glad to, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving with appropriate conditions and safeguards the final plat for Avalon Woods Phase 1B as authorized under Section 5.18 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations in a planned development PD zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict and prevent an effective date. The appropriate motion at the appropriate time will be to pass Resolution number 2022-27 SD 21-02 as read by title only, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the request for final plat approval on 1B of Avalon Woods. It's on the far northern edge of the Avalon Woods development. This particular subphase is 49 lots. It's the second subphase that will be approved in the Avalon Woods development. It has been reviewed by the city surveyor and revised accordingly. To obtain final plat approval of developer, this was written in anticipation of having a surety device in hand. There has been a unique circumstance in that the only bank representative for the developer that is authorized to sign was in Scotland and apparently got COVID and is now still in Scotland because he can't leave until he is cleared. So,
Brian, you know that I'm taking a group of kids to Scotland in about
That's what
20
you said,
days.
Mr.
So, you know, you're
Hand delivered.
killing me. Yeah, I'll get it from him when I'm there.
Yeah, there you go. Just get it back. So I spoke with our city attorney just prior to the meeting, and he said that the commission is allowed to approve conditioned upon receipt of the signed surety agreement at some near future date. Again, the final plat approval with a surety allows developer to go ahead and pull building permits so that they can start building houses in advance of the completion of the infrastructure in that area. So you can build them simultaneously. That's just the actual plat. You can see it's up in it's up in the far northeast corner of the development. There's a little bit bigger close-up of the 49 lots. It does have an entrance at the far eastern side that goes up to 24th Avenue, south and northwest 24th Avenue. And so staff's recommendation is to approve final plat for Avalon Woods Phase 1B, conditioned upon receipt of the surety device.
Anybody got any questions? Comfortable with the condition? Commissioner Martin?
I think I asked this before, but I don't remember the answer. Why did we not line up the roads there on the eastern end to come out as a four-way instead of having the offset?
I believe, Mr. Mayor, that question was asked in the past, but honestly, at this point, I don't remember what the answer was.
Does the engineer remember the answer? Everyone remembers the question.
Probably. Should I comment?
Yep, we're not in quasi judicial, so it could be a little less formal.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. I believe it actually had to do with the efficiency of the layout. The community to the north were very concerned about roads running, connecting to 24th Street, and they asked us to remove one of the access points. And in terms of specifically why, it most likely had to do with the efficiency of the layout.
Have you got any feedback from that person that lives right there as far as the cars coming out right at the house or anything like that?
No, we didn't hear anything from them at all. It was the people to the south.
Further down. I remember hearing about that.
Or, excuse me, to the west is what I meant
Yeah.
to say.
I remember hearing about people
Yeah.
talking about that.
But also, from a practical standpoint, there's only going to be 5 or 6 houses that would be on the far eastern edge of that will use that driveway. No one's going to drive back to go down. They're going to go out.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, no, I wasn't worried about the traffic or anything. Okay. Thanks, Dave.
yeah, thank you.
Other questions from the dais? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion. And the motion needs to, if it's a motion to approve, it needs to be contingent on the surety.
Motion to approve with the condition of assurance.
Okay, I have a
Second.
motion from Commissioner Clark with the condition. I have a second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We have one agenda item that was added as an amendment. We traditionally, this board is a member of the North Florida Regional Planning Council. That traditionally has been the job of our newest commissioner to do. but they meet in Lake City. They drive. Right now, they're meeting on Zoom. I served for a couple years on it. I think everybody here, except for maybe Commissioner Farnsworth, I think he's never managed to serve on that. I think we've all done it.
I've had a tour.
And I believe we've all found it equally a not very productive use of time. It is productive for our staff. I think that that board is definitely a staff level board. What I would like to do is change the nature here and appoint our clerk to go up and serve and listen to the conversations, take minutes, serve as a proxy.
So one of us?
Well, we would appoint Commissioner Coleman to be the liaison, but our clerk would go in his stead. And then if we want to move the liaison around, if Commissioner Coleman wants to go, great. This is a board that it's sort of a community thing to be a part of. We obviously have our own planning staff. We have our own building department. The North Florida Regional Planning Council is more geared towards cities that don't have those entities, and they are serving in that capacity. So, however, they're a great partner when we go after grants, when we're trying to get money out of Tallahassee to get letters of support. And they certainly depend on, in this situation, we count as a larger city, they certainly depend on some larger cities helping keep it afloat and alive. So that would be my suggestion of, instead of continuously kicking this around and us struggling to get there, because it's an hour drive and then it's a couple hours of stuff that really is more staff level information, because it's they've been working on it for a year and you're just getting there.
It's good information.
It's good information. It is not trying to be derogatory.
And the fish fry stuff is good. It's the what is it called? Where it's just hamburger.
The
Meatloaf?
Meatloaf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's terrible.
Don't eat the meatloaf.
Judy will
Right.
definitely be there those nights.
The fish fried night.
No.
She liked the meatloaf?
She eats the meatloaf.
Oh, okay.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Or unless it's still.
You're gonna be eating an Apple computer right now. It's all right.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be on
It's on Zoom, so
Yeah.
forget the food.
Dang it.
So the motion would be to appoint our city clerk to attend the North Florida Regional Planning Council meetings, to serve as Commissioner Coleman's proxy, and if we want to move the liaison around as we see fit, that's fine. And that would be the letter that staff sends to the North Florida Regional Planning Council, and I'll be happy to sign it after y'all draft that up. And that would just be how we handle this from here on out.
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Mazon, getting to skate through. You took a lesson from Commissioner Monty over there about how to avoid this thing.
Hold on.
30 years.
This guy did not,
Motion.
he really, and we don't have a second yet. He didn't even get contested in his first election ever.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's not my fault.
Listen, man, you need to pay some dues.
Yeah, you do need to.
I thought you were going after Monty here. 30 years he's been up here on this dais, passed laws. He's never once driven up there for that meatloaf or the stomachache after.
Meatloaf is terrible.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Motion by Commissioner Mazon, second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments, questions on the motion floor of the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? I haven't asked for the vote yet. Now I'm going to pause. Wait for a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Nay, that's the name.
You were an A?
Nay.
Oh, well, we're sending you up there. I want to change the, I want to change the
On the
motion.
prevailing side, and I would like to recall a motion.
Yeah, bring it back. You sure?
Consideration.
Might get appointed.
Yeah, you could.
Never mind, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. Motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Farnsworth in frustrating dissent. Put that down in the minutes.
Yeah,
Coming
when
back
election
30
time
years.
comes around,
Uh-huh.
we're gonna put him in.
City manager's out of the room, so we'll go to Sierra. Do you have any comments? Mr. Attorney, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Commissioner Maison?
No.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Coleman?
I'll waive my 3 minutes to Commissioner Farnsworth.
I have no comments. Either public comment? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Please stay tuned for the BOA, which I would wish we could move up a little bit, but I know that we have some people who want to be here, and it was advertised at 7. So it'd be a great opportunity to introduce yourselves to the commission, take a bathroom break,
the public hearing of the application for site development plan
Glad to do so, Mr. Chair.
and swear in Mr. Attorney.
Will do. As you know, all public testimony this evening will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts. Closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. And at this time, would anyone who intends to testify about the quasi-judicial public hearing regarding Resolution 2022-14 SDP 22-06 stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Chair, all of the witnesses have been sworn, and we will now commence the presentation with staff overview.
Let me ask for ex parte of the board. Mr. Maison? Mr. Martin? I have none. Mr. Barnwell? I have none. So at this time, we have nothing. Staff? So we disclose any ex parte communications, and at this time, we have none. Now, staff overview.
You gotta read the whole thing.
This is a commissioner,
Wait.
not our mayor, just let y'all know.
What, all I got is
Present the presentation order. We're going to start with staff overview, then we're going to hear from the applicant.
oh, you want to read it?
Yeah,
You
read
got
the whole
that?
thing.
Okay, so we're going to start with the staff overview, then we'll have the applicant's presentation, then we'll have the staff report, any third-party interveners, public comments, any interveners representing the group. The applicant may cross-examine. The party of interveners may cross-examine. The staff may cross-examine. Members of the decision-making body will ask questions from the applicant, the party, or interveners at that time. We will have final arguments made by the applicant, the party interveners, and then the staff related solely to the evidence and testimony presented at the hearing and introduced into the record. The city attorney will advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law and factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. We'll have deliberations of the applications, and then after deliberations, a vote shall be taken to approve or approve with conditions or continue to deny the application. So at this time,
And Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I've not been contacted by anybody wishing to claim a third-party intervener status, so we can skip those steps.
okay, thank you very much. So at this time, we'll have staff overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to let the board know, the applicant does not have their own presentation, but they are here, the developer's here, and his team from Kimley Horn, which are his agents, are here to answer any questions the board may have. This is Resolution 2022-14, which is a resolution to approve a site development plan for a grocery store shopping plaza. It's approximately total of 62,659 square feet. It'll be two separate buildings. The first is the grocery store, which is about 55,000 square feet. Second building is right about 7,700 square feet. It'll be a multi-tenant retail space. The application included the associated site development plan, which included parking, utilities, stormwater considerations, and it is located on north side of State Road 26, Newberry Road, east of County Road 235, and south of Newberry Lane, in that triangle section you see there on the screen. This is the northern side of the site plan. This is where the main building will be, and some of the parking you can also see in the back. You've got the loading areas. It is a relatively tight space for the size of the development, and so they've maximized pretty much every square foot available to them to make it work. And that's the southern end of the site plan, which includes additional parking and then another stormwater basin on the far south of the triangle.
Can you go back? Is
So there's-
that, which way is the front of the school on that?
The front of the store is facing due south.
So this is facing down,
Facing south,
so the
Down.
store is facing south.
yes. North is up, south is
16
down.
comes this way?
Yes, sir. You can see
The entrance right there.
That's Newberry Lane?
Newberry Lane's on the north,
That's Newberry Road.
on the top.
Newberry Road?
Yeah, right.
So it will have access, ingress and egress on Newberry Road, County Road 235, and also on Newberry Lane. 3 different access points.
Okay. So the next slide is just the continuation of the parking?
Yes.
Okay.
They have an extensive, presented an extensive landscaping plan. There are a number of old oak trees on the site. Unfortunately, again, because of how tight the development needs are on this site, there's only a couple of trees that are going to be remain. They're in the northern side of the right-of-way on Newberry Lane. However, as you'll see in the plan, they have provided for considerably more canopy trees to be planted throughout the development to compensate for the loss of those trees. And then again, on the south, you can see there's extensive, it's hard to see the detail at this level, but there's extensive landscaping basically around the entire perimeter of the project. A little bit of a blow up. You can see the parking bubbles. You know, they've got canopy trees there, or not canopy trees, but small trees there around the perimeter, like the large circle on the left. It represents one of the canopy trees, and those are located basically around the entire perimeter, everywhere that there was an area where they could plant canopy trees. And then the level of detail is difficult to see, but each of those clusters that look like dark shaded areas is basically a layered landscaping approach where you've got canopy tree, underneath that you've got some understory, under that you've got decorative grassing and different types of plants throughout the perimeter of the entire, and then also in all of the parking areas. At the May 2nd Planning and Zoning Board meeting, the board voted unanimously to recommend to the Board of Adjustment approval of Resolution 2022-14. It was conditioned upon successful resolution of the staff review of comments prior to presentation of the application to the Board of Adjustment. The applicant, staff believes the applicant has satisfied those requirements, has adequately resolved all of the review comments presented by staff, and the staff finds no objection to approval of SDP 22-6. Subject to one condition, we've talked with the developer about this, and I believe they're in agreement. Staff recommended sidewalks on the eastern side of 235 in the right-of-way and on the southern side of Newberry Lane, also in the right-of-way, because we do have neighborhoods to the northwest and we have neighborhoods to the north of the development. Staff believes that there's some opportunity to work with the county on improvements to the intersection at 235. That's going to take more time than the developer has in terms of being able to comply with the sidewalk requirements. So what we've suggested is that they ask their engineers to provide a cost estimate for those the sidewalk development on those two sides, and deposit a sum equal to that cost estimate with the city, which the city will then construct the sidewalks at a future time once any additional improvements to 235 or Newberry Lane are complete. That way it doesn't hold up the development, and I believe the developer is amenable to that. That completes staff's presentation.
That's it.
Questions?
Wow.
Clarification. Whenever it's my-
That's fine, that's fine. Go ahead. Clarification.
Okay.
Commissioner.
How long do you think it will be before they actually start building? If the sidewalk thing is in question?
Start building the grocery center or?
Yes, yes.
I can, and I'm available to answer any questions. And
Just let-
for orientation
hang on.
purposes.
I'm sorry, hey, if those aren't clarified, then we should do public comment first, because they don't have an application. So you do public comment, then you come back. with
Okay,
questions.
okay, just one sec. Is that all you got then, Brian?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we got the staff overview. Then, any public comments? None, seeing none?
We take comments of support and as well, so.
So, now the applicant, you can come up, sir. And,
Britt Goodson with Carolina Holdings in Greenville, South Carolina. Thank you, board, for being here and hanging out till 7 o'clock for this case. I do have a site plan I can pass out. I know there were some questions on orientation of the center and getting kind of the road orientation correctly. I've got more you would like it, like one. So, as Brian talked about, the location's a great location. There are challenges with that site, and that's why we've had to maximize every square foot of the site. And it's really 3 S's. It's, in order of magnitude, it's the soils, it's the shape, and it's the size. So those were our challenges on this site. We've been working on this project for a good bit of time to be able to get our arms around those challenges and be able to get to this point. So in an ideal world, you would have just seen one stormwater pond, that one down in the bottom corner. But given the nature of the soils here and the permeability, it required us to put 2 in. And so we had to give up area to do that and figure out how to make it all work. Because, you know, drainage is important, and we've gotten that figured out. So to answer Commissioner Farnsworth's question, right now beyond the city, we do have the county permitting to finish up, the DOT permitting, and the Swanee River Water Management District permitting. So we're in that. We've applied. We're in process. We've gotten comments back from all those agencies. We're putting it all together to have a comprehensive resubmittal to them. So I would estimate we're probably a few months more in the permitting process. And then once we have all those done, we'll put the package together, take it out to the market for pricing, competitive bid, and then shortly thereafter look to commence construction. But so to estimate, that's probably 6 months before we actually get started.
So do you think that the sidewalk situation will be taken care of by that point in time?
I don't think so. The issues are there's some challenges there with existing utilities and grades and whatnot. So I think that the best solution is we can account for the sidewalks going in, and then when that work gets done, the funding for that's available to put them in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes fine with me. Now, there's I can't think of the name of it now. Anyhow, across the street, basically from where you are, there's the area for the runoff and stuff.
Right.
And they wouldn't include that in determining
The stormwater?
the stormwater
Right.
for you.
For us, no. It's huge, and in this area, because of sensitivity, you don't see really deep ponds. So they're more shallow, which takes up more area, which makes them look bigger. And they're dry. Most all the ponds around here are dry, so they're
Yeah.
not holding water for very long after a big rain. So that probably is sized just enough to accommodate that residential development.
Because I've never seen any water in there. But-
No, and ours will be the same way. They'll drain down quickly, and that's why we had to have 2 different ponds to have more area so that could do that. It's just,
Okay. I was just surprised they have you have a pond at all, but, okay.
I wish that wasn't the case, trust me.
I have no other questions, Chair.
Go ahead.
I have no other questions.
Oh, no other questions?
No, sir.
So, Tim? Turn your mic on.
So is this very, this corner up here is not in play at all?
Not for us, no, sir. We've had communication and we've explored that, but it's just not in the cards for us right now.
Done?
Yeah,
Commissioner Maison?
yeah, just one question. You can't really see here. What's the difference what's the distance from that parking lot to the road?
You mean where the parking start and
Yes,
the back,
and then
of
where
the,
the-
back of
yes.
the parking spaces to
To
like
the road?
State Road 26?
To Newberry Road, State Road 26.
Okay.
This here? This here?
Yeah, from here to here.
But how wide is the stint 26?
Yeah, and there's probably two.
It's wider than 26.
Probably the answer to your question is two-part. There's the existing edge of pavement for Newberry Road, and then there's our property line. So, are you thinking more to?
I was only asking the question so that he could take the photo, so your post
Oh,
is
okay.
good right now.
Oh, perfect. I have done more, so.
Keep doing what you do right now.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, okay.
You good? We're
Okay.
done.
All right, good, perfect, thank you.
Any,
I like it.
that- any more questions? Is that all you got, sir? That's good.
Good.
You've answered.
If y'all are good, I'm good.
Brian, staff, you got any more for cross-examination or anything?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Members of the decision-making body, and you've pretty much asked all the questions. Are any more questions before we? Okay. Any final arguments from the staff or the applicant? Seeing none. City Attorney, will you advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law and the factual findings that must be made to approve and deny the application?
Substantial and competent evidence that came from the podium, particularly our planner, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll go ahead and read it if you'd like at
Okay.
this time. This is resolution number 2022-14, SDP 22-06, a resolution of the City Commission serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving an application for site development plan approval for construction of a 62,659 square foot shopping plaza and associated site development in a commercial automotive district pursuant to Section 14.12 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations located at 101 Northwest 242nd Street on approximately 9.37 plus or minus acres within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. The tax parcel number is 01932-001-000, repealing all resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. Mr. Chair, the appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2022-14, SDP 22-06, upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Yes,
Can I
sir.
get a motion?
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Maison, second from Commissioner Farnsworth. I think we got a
Mr.
question.
Chair, I had one question. I just want to make sure. This was part of the conversations, but I don't quite remember where it was. Brian, we do have signage in this that will direct the trucks to not try to cross over on the eastbound lane. They'll head out to 235 to the soon-to-be caution lights and then try to cross at the caution light at 26. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I followed all of that.
Okay, so if you go back to the diagram, we've got 3 points, right? There. I want to make sure that the trucks, when they leave westbound. They don't go east on Newberry Lane and then try to cross over 2 lanes of traffic to go back to go back east.
I see your point.
I want to make sure we have signage telling the trucks, because we're on that curve, hey, you need to go out this way. And I believe the developers already agreed and said that there will be that signage there. I just want to make sure.
That's correct.
Okay.
We'll place the signage on our property. We can't do it in your right of way.
Correct.
But for what we can do on our side, we will.
Thank you.
That's it.
So I already got a motion, I got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. You will have a supermarket.
Thank you.
And that, And that is the end of the Board of Adjustment. What? Oh, one more? Lord! Oh, that's the pole barn.
Promise it's
This one won't take 2 minutes. You've already read the procedure.
No, I got it where to be. I just forgot about
You
it.
see why I don't want that job
Yeah.
right there.
Well, you're gonna get a regional planning council.
That rum's calling his name or something.
I ain't got no room. All right, we do have one more, number 4.
Anyway.
Anyway,
Anyway, back at it.
Mr. Attorney,
Yes, sir.
will you read in number 4 on the addition of the pole barn?
Glad to do so, Mr. Chair. This is Resolution 2022-25, STP 22-07, a resolution of the City Commission serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry approving an application for site and development plan approval for construction of a 3,000 square foot gross floor area pre-engineered pole barn and associated site development in a planned development district pursuant to Section 14.12 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations located on tax parcel number 01919-003-000 on approximately 36.73 acres of land within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2022-25, SDP 22-07, as read by title only.
Okay.
Sir.
Brian, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As stated, this is a resolution to allow for the development of a pole barn on the Alachua County Agricultural and Equestrian Event Center property. Normally, a pole barn doesn't ever come up for review by, on a site plan by the commission. They're usually built in agriculturally zoned property, which does not require it. This one, though, because it's not ag zoned, it's zoned plan development. It does, any commercial development, non-residential development requires a site plan review and approval by the commission. So it seems like, it would do something, just be a no-brainer, but in this instance, our code requires it. It is, as stated, is 3,000 square foot gross, square foot pre-manufactured 50 by 60 pole barn. The purpose is to provide cover for the Florida Department of Agriculture and the Communities and Consumer Services search and rescue transponder equipment. It's currently being stored on site, but it's exposed to the elements, and they have requested to build the pole barn out there so that they can get it out of the elements and protect the equipment better. You can kind of see in the point there, it's on the, again, it's at the Equestrian Center and it's up in the far northeast corner. It's positioned such that it does not, it will not cover any existing public utility easements, which there are a number of those on the site, and it will not take up any of the pre-approved additional parking, grass parking areas that were approved in the original site plan for the Agricultural and Equestrian Center. There's another picture there. So it's up in the far northeast corner of the Agricultural Event Center. To the right of that is the IFAS Extension Office. So on May 16th Planning and Zoning Board hearing, the board voted unanimously to recommend approval of Resolution 2022-25. Staff recommends approval as well. And that concludes the staff presentation.
Well, there you go. Nobody else is here? Just us?
The applicant's not here.
Applicant's not here. That was the staff report, no third-party interveners. Any public comments? Seeing none? No interveners? There ain't no applicant? Anything else, Brian?
No, sir.
You don't want
Mi-
to cross examine yourself?
I could try.
Members of the decision-making body, any questions for the staff at this time? Any final arguments for it? Seeing none? City Attorney, will you advise the decision-making body as the applicable law and the final factual findings?
Same basis, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Deliberations? Anyone? Can I get a motion?
I get a motion. Second.
I got a motion from Commissioner Mazon, second from Commissioner Coleman. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous decision. You got a building. Now, number 4 is done. Board of Adjustment is over, convened.